So, I don't know if you've heard recently, but everyone's quitting their jobs, or at least it seems like everyone is quitting their jobs, because when I open my LinkedIn and I scroll down the TL, someone is either talking about leaving their current role to go to another company or just quitting their job entirely. And this is a trend that I've been seeing, and people have been calling it the Great Resignation. I think this is a defining moment in our generation and will shape the years to come. But something that I've really been asking myself lately is, what is the societal impact of all of this? I work for Microsoft, and they recently released this report called the Work Trend Index. And every major news outlet has been citing this report to show the recent trends in the workforce. There were two statistics that really surprised me from this report. The first one being that 41% of people are considering leaving their job within the next year. That's a lot of people, that is a lot of people. But the one that surprised me the most is that 54% of Gen Z is leaving the workforce. Gen Z. We haven't even been out of college for a year. We haven't even been in the workforce for more than a year, and we're already considering leaving our jobs. So what does that tell you about the shift of labor in the coming years? I am by no means an economist, I'm not a philosopher, I'm not a researcher, but what I am is a woman with a very interesting perspective. And I really would like to sit down and chat with you all about what I think this not only means for our generation, but also what are the confounding factors that even got us in this place. One of the factors that I think led to this mass resignation is a little less obvious, and I think that factor is globalization. Globalization is the growing interdependence of world's economies, cultures, and populations. And within the last century alone, we have seen a rise of exposure to the world's economies and cultures like we've never had before. Western culture is really centered around capitalism and workaholism, if that is even a word. Due to globalization, I really think that it has exposed us to cultures through so many different mediums, whether that is travel, whether that is media, but ultimately the result of that is us questioning, why does my life have to look like this when another culture, another population doesn't approach work this way? I think a lot of other cultures approach work as you live to work, you don't work to live. And in the US particularly, that is a very strong view we have. You ask someone, what do you do? They're gonna tell you, I am in X and Y, Z role, I work for this place. Whereas in many other countries, if you ask someone, what do you do? I'm a brother, I'm a sister, I'm a mother. There's so many things that characterize who they are as a person that come before their work. I think globalization has really allowed us to see these differences in our culture, but also realize that that narrative does not have to reign true in our culture. This leads me to my next point, which is social media and the internet. Never before have we had access to people's lives in the way we have today. We have Instagram, we have Twitter, we have LinkedIn, we have Snapchat. We have so many touch points of access into people's lives. And this really allows us to see what is also possible out there. And there's so many ways to make money online now. There has been such a democratization in the ability to create a business online. There's Robinhood, there's Etsy accounts, there's Amazon FBA. There's so many things that one can do these days to really set up a business online and to democratize that space. Now more than ever, social media and the internet has allowed people to cross into tax brackets that they couldn't have imagined going into a decade ago, just due to the advancement of technology. I believe the third factor that led to this great resignation is one that we all know a little bit too well. Just a little bit too well. And her name is the pandemic. The pandemic. And it's not in the way that we may think about it. I think a lot of times for this great resignation particularly, we think it's just because we were forced to work remotely. for 18 months. I think it's much deeper than that. I believe corporations do a really good job of tying an employee's sense of self to their work, whether that is through their office space, whether that is through perks, whether that is through swag. There's so many different ways that corporations and companies try to increase employee loyalty. And over the past 18 months, all of that has virtually vanished. We were forced to work from home, and because of this, it really had us distance ourselves from those things like the physical office space, the swag, the perks, all these different things, and make us really see our jobs for what they actually are. And I think during this time, a lot of people started to really question not only the state of their lives, but the state of their happiness. And this isolation and this distance between the physical workspace and their actual work allowed them to see things for what they really are. I think overall, this really made people ask the question, am I happy at my job? And for most people, that answer is no. That answer was no. And that is why we're seeing this mass resignation. So now that we went over all the confounding variables and factors, I think this begs the question, what will this future look like? Like, what will things actually look like in the years to come, understanding that there are these huge shifts in labor that are happening right now? And I think that there's 3 ways that this can really play out. Number 1 is that I think that the number of people who are self-employed or business owners is going to sharply increase. Now more than ever, it has been so easy to start a business. The barrier to entry is much lower than it was before because we have the internet. And I always say that the internet is called WWW for a reason because it is the wild, wild west out here. You can really set up shop on the internet. You don't need anyone's permission anymore, and you don't need a physical space to have a building. All you need is a domain name. And that is a huge shift in the level of entry that it takes to start a business. There are so many ways to make money online, whether that is through YouTube, whether that is through an Etsy shop, Amazon FBA, having a Shopify account. There's just so many ways to make money online these days. And I think because of that, people are going to shift towards doing those things online that can generate income for them. So we're going to see a rise of people who are more self-employed and business owners. I believe that the second shift that we are going to see in our future is a more nomadic lifestyle. And the reason I say this is because since we have worked virtually for about 18 months now, people realize that I don't need to be in a specific location just because I work there. Gone are the days that we are somewhere just because we work there and our heart is not actually tied to that place. This allows people to have more flexibility, more work-life balance, and really tailor their life the way they want it to be. Going back to my point about globalization, I think that this nomadic lifestyle is going to be increased and more encouraged just because there is this new level of curiosity about exploring different parts of the world because we have so much access to see what other parts of the world look like. I think people are realizing right now that if they don't travel and work remotely, that they may never get this opportunity again. And I really think that it has made people redefine their priorities and understand that location does not have to hinder their happiness. I believe that the third shift that we will see in our generation due to this great resignation is more equitable compensation, especially for those who are more essential workers. I want to preface this by saying that I am not ignorant to the fact that people's different life circumstances can make it much harder for them to survive and achieve a fuller life on a daily basis. However, when everyone is quitting their jobs, you become a hot commodity because these corporations and these companies, they need you. It's like an economic supply and demand graph. When the supply is low and demand is high, the price has to go up to account for that high demand and the low supply. And this really makes me hope, it's just a hope, but I hope that these companies and corporations start paying people what they deserve to work in these roles, especially essential workers. We saw during this pandemic how severely underpaid these essential workers were, and they were literally putting their lives on the line. These people who are working in Amazon warehouses, people who are delivering the mail, doing things that are essential to keeping our society running, are the backbone of our society. And I hope that this shift in labor really makes us realize the importance of these workers. And by realizing the importance of these workers, I mean, we gotta pay them. We have to pay them what they truly deserve. However, I think it would be really ignorant of me to ignore the fact that tech companies are really specializing and investing in automation these days. There are self-driving cars, there's IoT devices in retail stores, there's Elon Musk's weird robot-looking thing. So many different things that tech companies are creating right now to reduce the need for labor. And this really makes me question what that will look like in the future. And instead of paying people what they deserve, I have a feeling, and it kind of makes me sad, it makes me very sad that this is also another possibility, but I have a feeling that tech companies and these corporations are just going to outsource that labor to robots, which really sucks. We'll see how that works out. I hope that's not the case. I hope people get paid what they deserve, but I think that is one that is still developing, and we're not gonna really know what that looks like until it comes. I think this great resignation is such a defining moment in our generation. We are going to look back at the balance that we are in right now and realize that nothing will ever be the same. This is a new normal. There's no going back to what normal was beforehand, and it is going to be so interesting in the coming generations and the coming years to see what the future of work actually looks like. I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, theories down below in the comments. I really enjoy reading the comments and what you all have to say. I think this is such a great topic, and I would really love this to be more of a conversation between all of us. So please feel free to leave your opinion in the comments down below. I'll catch you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.